the good ride, because it's pretty damn hard to try before you buy.
Grant on the grates! Little more grates!
So hey, here we are looking at the good ride review of the Yes grates. Couldn't do this review without comparing it to two of my favorite ASIMs of all time, the Never Summer Proto Type 2 and the old grates. And this is a 54. I rode this today with, I've ridden this before, and I rode this today with Adidas Tactical ADVs and my trusty old Union Atlas on each board. And Grant rode his Burton SLXs, and we just kind of switched back and forth all day. First we went up with the grates and the grates, and I was really worried after, you know, riding the standard in a 56 and then the old standard in a 56 and how different it was. And it was just like, it was so much slower. Well, this time I got a 54 grates and I rode it against my old 56 grates, and I was worried that the same thing was going to happen with the standard, where it just like wasn't fun. It was super slow edge to edge for me with my boot size, and I couldn't size down and blah blah blah. But instead I had just as much fun, if not more, on this Grates 154 versus the Grates 156. And I didn't notice a significant drop in turn initiation, just sizing down 2 centimeters. I didn't notice, like, it didn't feel wide, bulky, and cumbersome. I could still go ride the half pipe. I could still butter, and I could make quick turns. Yes, it's not as fast as this 56. That 56 is much faster edge to edge for me, but this wasn't, not much faster, but faster. This wasn't as slow as I thought, and I felt like with this extra volume, this extra width, that this 54 was hanging right there at the 56.
Yeah.
Didn't you think?
Yes, and I think as far as like overall speed of the boards, they're both like neck and neck.
Was it? Yeah, it was a much better comparison than I thought.
Yeah.
I think if I compared, I think I might not have had as much fun on the 56 if I had that. I want this in 54.
I want it in a 54 or a 56. I'll take anything. I just want this board badly right now.
I'll do whatever it takes.
It's killing me that I gotta wait till next season.
It kills me that I have to send this thing back. I'd like to spend the rest of the season on it. But this middle bite, this mid bite, ASIM mid bite is so cool. I was always wondering if they would ever do that. I noticed a massive difference in edge hold, and we were riding in some kind of fucked up conditions. It looks fucked up, but it's actually super fun.
Yeah.
It was a great time up there, and I love days like this. Nobody's on the hill, the parking lot's empty, everybody thinks it sucks. It doesn't. It's fun. It's fun.
Super fun.
And I just, you know, I had such a good time on this. I felt like I was riding Switch better than I have all year. And I just felt like I really was getting into the groove. It's so nice to be on a twin during a season of so many directional rides being sent to me. You know, so many tapered, directional, super setback, surfy rides. And just going out on an ASIM twin like this is so much fun. You know, it pops well, it butters well. It's still that same grates. I was surprised at how much closer they felt to one another.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't feel like when I was doing the standard, the old standard versus the new standard, I felt the night and day difference switching back and forth between two 156s. Going from this 54 to this 56, there wasn't that much of a transition. It wasn't this like massive difference. You still felt like you're on the grates. It was just like slightly wider, but it turned really fast for how wide it was. And it just felt like a fun board to have. I'd love to have this in a 54. Yeah, it even makes me curious about the 51, you know? And it's still got the same old camrock. Check the table down below for the on the table review down below to see the other specs. But all in all, I'm super impressed with this ride, and I just don't see why it wouldn't be a favorite again next year. And I was really worried as things go wide with Yes. You know, I like the optimistic wide, but I'm riding a 51 optimistic. And, you know, I just have to downsize a little bit as the width goes up. You know, I wish I could do that on the standard, but I can't. It's just the stance width's too narrow to go down to a 53. And that would be a little off. But this 54, man, it's amazing. I'm super impressed with it, and I can't say enough good things. I was really worried about this, and I was just such a pleasant surprise. Now, when comparing it to the Prototype 2, I would say the Prototype 2, definitely, I mean, you're looking at hybrid rocker versus hybrid camber, right? And, you know, where these two, I felt like so much more overlap than I thought they would be completely different boards, but there's a lot more overlap. This is just an evolved version of that. Now comparing this to that, yeah, the Prototype 2 is a little quicker turny, a little more traditional modern ASIM, if that makes sense. It's a little more, you know, a little more loose between the feet. The edge hold's definitely better on this. The edge hold was the least on this. That one's a little better. I felt like there was a little better grip. And then this one just takes the cake. This can ride in icy snow. It's a hard snow specialist. You know, that mid-bite just does such a good job in all conditions. And it never felt too grabby, did it, when we got into the soft snow? Because we had...
It was perfect amount of hold without catching.
Because we had ice patches, then we had soft snow, we had some rain and slush. We had it all today, and it just kept gripping, and it just feels very comfortable. It's super wide though. I mean, look how wide it is, and it felt like, yeah, it's definitely more of a mid-wide, but it's not just a mid-wide. You know, kind of wide enough for you to carve with your 11s, right?
Perfect for the 11s, yeah. And it's, so for me, this is better as a 54 than the older 56, even though like this is one of my favorite boards I've ever ridden. And the edge hold on this is better. I don't not like the Proto. It's a great board. I have a lot of fun on it, but this board suits my riding style better. And I felt as a 54, it was super stable at speed as well. As stable as the 56.
I would agree. I would agree.
And this would be probably number 3 stability at speed for me.
Well, I feel this is the dampest board of all three, but that rocker and that tip and tail off the snow makes it a little more bouncy.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have that balmy feel that these two do. Where I do love that pop out of the tip and tail of the Proto versus these because of the rocker coming up. It doesn't have that energy like popping out of a butter or something like that for, you know, and it breaks a little more in the middle where this breaks in the tip and tail a little more. But both are easy to butter. It's just really like, I still really love that Prototype 2. I feel like it's got a more traditional, more like twin ride. That 57 just feels great for me. Where this is interesting. It definitely feels like you feel like you have the same volume of board, maybe even more with the 54, but you don't feel that typical 54 shortness. You don't feel like you want to go straight to the park with this. Right. This feels like it can take on the mountain just as well as the Prototype 2 and the Greats 56. It just feels like you're doing it in a shorter, fatter way. It feels like a Yes optimistic twin. You know what I mean?
So
like,
love it.
It's so fun, and it's buttery, and it's playful. It's got good pop, good drive. You know, I kind of think I almost like the basic Decade a little bit better in terms of pop and turn initiation. It was a little quicker. It's definitely quicker than this, but I like this riding switch. I love that ASIM, and there is a fun feeling with this kind of like fatter, shorter kind of like this, like for me, it's a short, fat twin because I'd usually be on a 56 or a 57, and going down to 54 isn't a ton. But you know, I'm even curious now about the 151. I mean, maybe that would be my thing. You know, just riding a little short, fat 51 because it seems like it could handle things really well. But I'll probably end up getting the 54. And yeah, you know, going back and forth between these, yeah, I think it was like, I felt like the Proto Type 2 just, you know, it's got a great personality. It's very hard to kind of like compare these two now, where before these had kind of like the same, like similar side cuts, similar tip and tail width, similar lengths, and now this kind of like has departed from that conventional, that older style, and it's like so new that it's so different. It's just definitely short, fat, carvy, stable, fast. That's still like longer and thinner and carvy and stable, but not super stable, but super damp. So there you have it. You know, both are great boards for just basically mountain freestyle riding. Going into the park, hitting a half pipe, hitting some kickers, maybe a jib or two, but they're just tearing up the mountain regular and switch, and that's kind of where we see this grate. So there's our little like follow-up on the grates. You see the 56 review above, but this is kind of like the comparison between the old grates versus the new, and comparing against, like, you know, the other amazing asymmetrical twin. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to have this in my quiver. Grant wants one. Grant,
I'm 100%.
Grant's ready to do sexual favors
I will
for
be
this.
dying with this board next year.
I think we're both ready to do sexual favors for this. I'll just have to get approval from my wife, but I think she'll understand, because it's his board. It's just for a board, honey. It's not to like, it's not for personal pleasure. It's sacrifice. It's sacrifice. It's not, honey, I don't want to do this.
Exactly how far
I just
you're gonna
need
go
this
for
board.
this.
I just need this board.